This is your Wall Street wake-up call. Best Buy shares surging after reporting better than expected second quarter results. For more, I'm joined now by Craig Erlam, a senior market analyst at Owanda in London. So Craig, analysts had expected a decline in same-store sales, but they actually rose by 0.8%. So what's your take on the quarter?
Well, I think there is a lot of positive points to take in the quarter. The same-store sales is, of course, one of the highlights that we've got. I think analysts were, positive about the fact that things like earnings per share were better. Of course, this was partially driven by the share buyback that occurred in the last quarter. I think overall, though, I think the outlook for the company still doesn't necessarily get me too excited. I think there's still a number of issues that the company has to face. We're still seeing earnings being driven by things like cost cutting, these measures which can't go on forever, I guess. What we want to see is more organic growth, and I think the outlook for the US consumer combined with the competition that the company faces, falling profit margins, is a concern for investors. We are seeing a big boost to the share price pre-trade, but I'm not sure if I'm necessarily optimistic in the longer term.
Yeah, shares are up about 15%, but of course this is still a retailer that is threatened by Amazon, right?
Exactly. This is one of the reasons why we are seeing the margins being cut. It's in terms of price competition. You've got the likes of Amazon in terms of a huge online retailer which it's facing stiff competition from. In stores, you're looking at the likes of Walmart, another giant retailer that Best Buy is competing with. And I'm not necessarily seeing anything in the results or otherwise to suggest to me what about this, about Best Buy, makes it stand apart from either of these options. And therefore, in terms of its peers, I do think it is a little inferior, and as a result of this, I find it a little difficult to get too excited about these earnings. Yes, these particular results were strong, but I'm not seeing too much in terms of the results that makes me too optimistic about the future.
Right, the longer-term trend is perhaps worrisome, although a few bright spots during the quarter were consumer electronics and home theater equipment. So what does that say about the consumer that we're seeing them spend a little bit more on these bigger ticket items?
Well, the electronics side of things has been, a worrying point prior to these results. So I guess this is something that the company should be a little bit more optimistic about. We have seen a little bit of a return of the consumer in the US to an extent, although with earnings still remaining subdued and consumer spending as a whole still not returning anywhere near to pre-crisis levels. I think you've got to be a little cautious when it comes to the consumer sector, to the retail sector. And like I say, when there's better options out there, I just struggle to get excited, I think, is my overwhelming feeling with Best Buy.
All right, Craig Erlam, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm Scott Gam, and you're watching The Street.